Hello there. Happy New Year. That's right, happy 2026. It's the 1st of January. It's 6:20 a.m. at time of recording here in the United Kingdom. I did go to sleep last night. I didn't stay up. I told you I went for a few beers in the day, so I was tucked up in bed asleep before 11, which affords me the opportunity to record this video very early now, talk to you about the impending sacking, or walking, of Enzo Maresca. Of course, the story I reacted to yesterday, but it's percolated, dare I say, boiled over in the night. He's not expected to take the Manchester City game tomorrow. A huge game, and I must say, this is an absolute clown show. It's a disaster in many ways. The manager that we gave a 5+1, basically a 6-year contract, is doing the exact average managerial tenure of Chelsea in the 21st century, which is 18 months. It's an absolute joke. It's a shame it's come to this. What comes next? I have absolutely no idea, so I'm just trying to clean my glasses. And I'm going to react to an article from The Guardian. Jacob Steinberg spoken about this, but loads of journalists have sort of been picking up the scent over the last sort of 10 hours or so for Fabrizio Romano initially, and now others are getting, information from their sources that Maresca isn't happy. It's not about him being sacked because of results in the last month. It's about, apparently, a lot of people are saying him and Bedadik Barley, of course, the big boy from Clear Lake Capital. Now, I've said this before, I will say it again. In the takeover for Chelsea Football Club, when the club was seized from Roman Abramovich, and Rain Group of New York was assigned the task of selling Chelsea, not to the highest bidder, but to the best bidder, that for the interests of the club. I, myself, and others analysed the available candidates to take over Chelsea, and it seemed an obvious preferred bidder should be Todd Boehly. We didn't know much about Clear Lake Capital. We knew Todd Boehly. Todd Boehly tried to buy Chelsea Football Club from Roman Abramovich in 2018. Roman considered it, but the sale didn't happen. He, of course, returned in 2022 when the club was seized as an asset, and he put together a consortium. And we thought, right, what do we know about Todd? Well, he runs really successful sports franchises. He likes Chelsea. He's wanted to buy Chelsea before. The alternatives are, it was like a Saudi media group, not properly financially backed, and of course we had all the Saudi trouble with Newcastle owners trying to buy them. There was Pagliuca, which didn't seem serious at all. There was the Ricketts family, which seemed like an awful potential buyer, and Todd seems like the absolute best of the bunch. And then we learned that Todd actually wants to buy superstars for Chelsea. I was against it personally, but he really wanted to buy Cristiano Ronaldo. Of course, he had dinner with Jorge Mendes very early, and he basically said to Tuchel, who do you want? Oh, you want Koulibaly? Lots of money, here you go. Oh, you want Aubameyang? Lots of money, here you go. Oh, you want Raheem Sterling? Lots of money, here you go. We'll put him on 325k a week or whatever it is. And granted, there was a lot of mistakes there, but it shows you that Todd, I think although he accepts the undervalued nature of young players, and he likes the sporting directors buying loads of young players, because you end up with your Cole Palmers and your Estevals, I don't think necessarily he was 100% bought in. And in the war of ownership, and of course there was the civil war between Todd Boehly's side, his guys, Mark Walter and Hans-Jörg Wyss and stuff like that, and of course Clear Lake, who are by far majority owners. I think they own 2/3 of Chelsea. A lot of people sided with Todd Boehly in his sort of position. Now, I'm just giving you a sort of rundown, because this is, of course, has been a circus, because this young squad, I think Enzo Fernandez has had so many managers: Graham Potter, Bruno Saltor, Frank Lampard, Maurizio Pochettino, Enzo Maresca, and now seemingly someone else. And it doesn't feel like Enzo Fernandez has been with us that long. He feels like, a fairly recent Chelsea player. And he would have gone through so many managers. We all moaned about the instability under Roman Abramovich at the time. This is the same / worse. Well, probably the same. Well, worse, because it averaged 18 months under Abramovich. And although Maresca's reached 18 months, none of the others have. So it's worse. I know we won a couple of good trophies. We'll speak about the article and Maresca in a moment. But at least with Roman, we were in the mix for Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Look, we're still in the Champions League. We're still in the semi-final. All work done by Enzo Maresca, by the way. And we're going to get into it today. It's dramatic scenes. It's 2026. It's Chelsea Ruddy Football Club. We'll get into it. Welcome back. Thank you as always for hanging out with me here. You're all welcome for this year and beyond. So thank you for supporting me. Thank you for liking the video, subscribing. Of course, this is available on podcast platforms. Do feel free to go follow me on Spotify or Apple Pods. Give me a follow on there, and please do 5-star rating and comment and all those wonderful interactions that help out us content creators. Let's get into it. Right, I'm going to just prepare this article. 1 minute. Right, Steinberg writes on The Guardian, Maresca on the brink of Chelsea sack after breakdown of relations. Club set to open new year with emergency talks. Cryptic comments have led to rapid escalation. We're hearing all sorts of stuff, but Jacob Steinberg of The Guardian writes the following. Maresca is on the brink of leaving Chelsea after a complete breakdown in his relationship with the club. A complete breakdown, which of course infers an irreparable break. The situation around the head coach has always been unpredictable for a few weeks, unpredictable for a few weeks, and is highly likely that parting of the ways is expected to take place on Thursday, that's today. Maresca is set to open the new year by holding emergency talks over his position. Chelsea are over Maresca's position. I have been awake not very long. It is expected that the Italian, who was booed by supporters during the 2-2 draw against Bournemouth at Stamford Bridge on Tuesday, will not be in charge for Sunday's trip to Manchester City. A trip that's already hard, guys, because we don't have Moises Caicedo. Also, what's Parma going to be thinking? You know? What all these players are going to be thinking? They're going to be thinking, what a circus. Sources have indicated that Maresca wants to leave the club, but it's unclear whether he's willing to walk away without payoff. Of course, his contract runs until 2029 with an option for a further year. So there could be another 4.5 years, basically. Chelsea, who have one win from their past 7 league games, which, by the way, guys, is not good enough. It's dismal form. It's awful, and I've been very firm on that lately. Have had their patience tested by Maresca's decisions during games, but more important, her conduct away from the pitch. Uncertainty set in, of course, for the former Leicester manager, whose side have dropped 15 points from winning positions. Yucky this season. Made the cryptic comments, of course, you all remember, after Everton, the worst 48 hours of the club. I mean, that is silly, but it's very Chelsea. Chelsea managers have been doing this for a long time. You know, your Mourinho's, your Conte's. Tuchel's a little bit more smart, but even Tuchel every now and again would drop something. It's just a Chelsea thing. Hold on, let me pause and sip my coffee because I'm not alive yet. Right, this is viewed as one of the first self-inflicted wounds. Those remarks left Chelsea's baffled and have placed a strain on Maresca's relationship with his bosses. It is not helped that the Italian has repeatedly refused to explain himself and what he meant, and he said that, quote, many people were not supporting him before the Everton game. Whispers about problems behind the scenes have inevitably intensified. Yeah, dirty laundry and all that. Further tension was created when Maresca felt unwell after his press conference of the Bournemouth game. Club insiders were left surprised when Maresca's assistant, Willy Caballero, spoke to the media. I knew he wasn't ill, by the way. I did say it. I said he could be ill because a lot of people are. But I raised eyebrows. No one really spoke about that. But your boy, me. I had a feeling deep within my lower spheres. And I said it. I'm getting a lot of stuff right recently. You should like and subscribe. Oh, God. My football club. Anyway, I knew he wasn't. And Willy Caballero looked pretty, emotional. I think he looked stressed, bro. I think he knew what was going on. Well, he must have done. He's his homie, by the way, so. Caballero said the manager's been feeling under the weather, but there were claims on Wednesday night Maresca actually made it clear that he did not want to conduct his usual press duties. It said that he was considering his options. Yeah, of course, Romano, made a video last night saying he's not ill, he's on the way out. Oh God, that sounds like he's dying. He's not dying. The club have taken a dim view of the volatility and are expected to respond. They were prepared to give Maresca time to reverse his side's slump, albeit with the caveat that he would be lucky to survive beyond January if the team's poor form would continue. Which, by the way, in the defence of the much maligned sporting project, if you play terribly forever and it looks like it's getting worse, it doesn't matter who you are, what's going on, you should probably sack your manager, especially if you have big ambitions. Now, I will give my position on Maresca very shortly after this article. Now, though, matters are expected to come to a head sooner rather than later. The pace of developments have been extraordinary, but Chelsea have contingency plans. Here we go. One solution, of course, will unsurprisingly, ding, 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 be the Strasbourg manager, Liam Rosenior. We'll speak about him as well, who has been viewed as a potential successor to Maresca. Strasbourg are Chelsea's partner club, as we all know. Much would depend on the quality of the replacement Strasbourg would be able to recruit. By the way, Strasbourg, they might not be doing amazing in Liga. They're doing probably about par. But they're top of the Conference League table, I think. I think they are. I'm going to quickly Google that as I speak to you. Yeah, they're top of the Conference League table, which is amazing. You know, so they don't want to... They still own Strasbourg, and he is in a good place there. You know, even if he's a long-term successor to Maresca, like... Do you know what I mean? If Maresca leaves Chelsea, then they'll be looking for a 5th permanent manager. That excludes Saltor and Lampard as, you know, interims, which is 7 altogether. Freaking hell, bro. Since Bowley and Clearlake bought the club. They are reluctant to make mid-season managerial changes. The memory of sacking Tuchel and Graham Potter during the chaos first season remains prominent. Yeah, we all have PTSD from that. Yeah. The board's preference had been to wait until the end of the season. Of course, they were going to do the two-season review. That was the tagline. He gets 2 years. We evaluate the 2 years. We go from there. But, you know, this is... Don't swear, Yannick. Don't swear, Yannick. I ain't gonna swear. This is ruddy Chelsea, mate. Maresca was in a relatively strong position when Chelsea beat Barcelona 3-0 in the Champions League and held Arsenal to a 1-1 draw with a man down, of course, but the outlook changed during a troubled December. We're beep in December, ladies and gentlemen. Maresca's substitutions and tactics have come under scrutiny by defeats at Leeds, Atalanta, and Villa, while his behaviour has caused internal tension. By the way, like, quickly, I will speak about Maresca broadly. I feel like he's made mistakes tactically and managerially and coach-wise, but he's also remedied those mistakes, and we know he's capable of setting up incredibly well. And just the game against Bournemouth, I said recently, the first half was on the manager, set up poorly. It was Pochettino ball. The second half, it was all Chelsea squeezing up on Bournemouth. The manager did well. It was on the players that did badly. Yeah. Okay, there was a feeling that Maresca put himself in needless trouble with the worst 48-hour comments. Maresca has been touted, of course, as a potential candidate to succeed Guardiola at Man City at the end of the season. Maybe he's got an eye on that. He also could be linked to Juventus. He'll get a big job, by the way, and he'll have a great managerial career. There has been suggestions that he wants more power and a bigger say over signings at Chelsea, but they're not willing to alter a structure in which they have built an extensive recruitment team and focused on signing some of the best young talent in the game. Chelsea reject the idea that Maresca has given instructions on team selection. That Maresca is given, as in like they're interfering. Well, they absolutely shouldn't be because he's the manager and they're not. I will say, to be in all fairness and devil's advocate, and this is something Johnson of The Athletic has said, he could be trying to move the goalposts here, like as in he knew what he signed up for, and now he's like, I won the Club World Cup, I won the Conference League, give me more power, you know, one year into a potential 6-year deal, and they're like, no mate, you're doing your job well done, here are your bonuses, but this is what you sign up for, this is the structure, you know? Problem is, this is going to keep happening. You might get and sign another green manager like a Cesc Fabregas or a Liam Rosenior that go, wow, wow, I got the Chelsea job. You know, like Maresca did from the Championship. Do well because they're sort of good coaches and they've got good players at Chelsea, and then be like, actually, all my other friends managing have all this power, and you guys are like, you know, structuring me like this. Let's change it, you know, and you just go round and round again, you know. Chelsea have 9 fixtures to navigate this month. Oh my god, it's going to take me out, guys. I might not make the 9 fixtures. I might not do it. 6 years of covering Chelsea. I've had a hair transplant. I've got lower back pain, yeah? I seem to have these new sort of types of fat on the side of my body. I'm not as good shape I used to be. And I'm tired all the time. I can't deal with hangovers. It takes more days. And I feel like I just want to blame Chelsea, you know? You know? Could potentially be partially me as well. Joe, training run of fixtures of 5 league games, an FA Cup third round game against Charlton, and the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final against Arsenal. And of course, Champions League group games against Paphos, at home of course, and away at Antonio Conte, Billy Gilmore's, and most saliently, Romelu Lukaku's Napoli. Oh dear. Oh God, help us. Chelsea were bold in replacing Pochettino with Maresca 18 months ago. Correct decision, by the way, because Pochettino, as much as I think he's a nice guy and had a good career at Tottenham, the first half against Bournemouth, that was Pochettino's Chelsea football. We set a record for goals conceded in the Premier League, which I've been very consistent on saying that's the most un-Chelsea thing, just conceding goals all the time. I hated it. Oh, but Palmer played really well. Yeah, Palmer played really well because he's a free-floating number 10 that was in a suicide ball system, so he was afforded the opportunity, freedom, and spaces to cook. But it came at a dear, dear cost of the structural integrity of Chelsea Football Club. So, don't let him cook. Let him be a sous chef in the system. By that now, I'm just too tired to make clever analogies. Last season, Maresca qualified for the Champions League, won the Conference League, and won the Club World Cup. Chelsea backed him during previous difficult spells. They do not have an issue with his rotation, as that is merely club policy, yet their patience has limits. There is an acknowledgement that Maresca had to cope a lot with, Cole out for the season, Palmer with his groin injury, dare I say, other injuries, Lavia, this is me speaking now, of course, the red zoning of players that didn't get a break in the summer because of the aforementioned Club World Cup. It's hard conditions, bro. And of course, his first ever second season, and it's not, you're not balancing Conference League football. You could say the next step up would be Europa. No, it's Champions League football. So it's tough. However, it was not encouraging when the fans started shouting, Maresca, you don't know what you're doing when you sold Palmer. But to be fair, that seemingly was an agreed substitution, and Palmer respected the decision, and we need him. We are managing a long-term groin injury with Palmer. It's just also was compounded by Joao Pedro coming on and playing like absolute trash. Right, let me pause, sip my coffee, and let's try and make a sense of this. Okay, so there's other stuff floating around the internet suggesting that the main fallout is with Bedadik Barley, of course the big dog at Clear Lake Capital. He's the one that walks around all over the gaff with the sporting directors. We haven't seen Todd in a while. He seems to be public enemy number 1 to Chelsea fans on social media. For some, it's the sporting directors. I think even to those Chelsea fans who perhaps aren't 100% enamored with Enzo Maresca, I think everyone has agreed, we're all holding hands in a big circle in a flowery field now, that this is ruddy nonsense. Yeah? It's great that we got good young players. We do have a lot of good young players. It's so exciting to see Estevao play football for Chelsea. And he should, touch wood, be a Chelsea player for 13 plus years, or whatever, 12 plus years now. And what a gift. We'll all look back on this time and be like, remember Maresca? We won the Club World Cup and then we signed Estevao. Wow, what an amazing turn in Chelsea history. Palmer's cooking and Caicedo's going to be amazing forever. And, Fofana and Cole will come back and be formidable. And Rob Sanchez turned his career around and everything's going to be good in terms of the squad. I think the sporting directors are probably the biggest problem here. But just like everything in life, I don't think it's so clear-cut. I do like some stuff they've done. And the thing is, because of the way they've built and structured the club, the managerial change isn't as crazy and dramatic as it might have been in another situation. Like, friggin' Tuchel, they came in, Tuchel was manager. Oh, Tuchel's a really good coach. Let's give him all these signings. They sack him for apparent reasons. They had to sack him. We're not getting into that now. And then they bring in Potter, who they like, by the way, we all agree was a mistake. And then Potter's got all Tuchel's players, and, you know, he tries to throw it his own way, and it just struggles, and his career basically spirals after that. At least with this particular structure of a huge recruitment team, there's a core of players that in theory should always be able to play together. Even if you change systems slightly, you're just building this sort of kit, a tool kit, that, you know, you don't have to change that much. And I suppose, gulp to their credit, that benefits Chelsea. But the truth is, it's not going to benefit Chelsea if you're set up in such an untenable way that managers just want to leave after 12, 18 months every time. You know, it becomes nonsense, right? It becomes pointless. It becomes moot point, you might say. Now, I like Enzo Maresca. I don't think he's helped himself. I do think he is an amazing coach. Well, hold on. I do think he's a great coach that could be an amazing coach. The way he can set up against big teams sometimes is really intelligent. I do like how he's got a bit of grit to him and he's not a complete walkover. This is something that we heard about Leicester, maybe slightly differently to what we expected and how it's come to fruition at Chelsea. Like, he is a strong character, so maybe... But you don't want a freaking... Sorry, man, but Graham Potter, no disrespect to him, you don't want Graham Potters at your club. You want someone with a bit of Enzo Maresca's grit, Conte, Tuchel, Mourinho. The only, like, different guy I'd say is Ancelotti, because he was like a gentleman and he was amazingly successful at Chelsea, winning the double. I don't know. I like him. I do like him. I think he's intelligent. He speaks like 5 languages. He'll get better, Maresca. He's never done a second season before, and that will continue now, because by the way, at time of recording, he's not left, but he's going. I think he's gone, personally. I'd be very surprised if he takes the Man City game. I think he's gone. So it leads you. So what's going to happen? Well, Liam Rosenior, I mean, I think he should stay. Yeah, I think we should have not effed it up. But I'm annoyed this is happening. There you go. There's my position on it. I'm not like, I don't feel like my wife is leaving me. I don't have a wife, but had I, one, I don't think it's like that bad. I do think he screwed it a little bit. But I'm very worried about what comes next. In the same way of the Chelsea owners, yeah. Some people think I love the Chelsea owners. I don't. I love my club, and I'm very worried if they just went, what would come next? Because it could be a lot worse. Yeah, it could be a lot worse. If you look at how certain other clubs, you might just not be into geopolitics, and you might be like, bring in Qataris, bring in Saudis, which is fine. Everyone can have their own opinion, but I do not want my club, my beloved Chelsea Football Club, to be used as a vessel of a sports washing project. I think I don't want that. And I'm not saying American billionaires are clean-hearted people either, by any means, but that's just my position. I think the Ricketts family would have been a disaster. I think I don't want like someone like the Glazers, that, the leverage buyout. Do you know what I mean? I'd be very worried for what comes next. And of course, instability is damaging. So, in the same way, I kind of feel the same way about the Chelsea owners and Maresca. Do you know what I mean? I just want for this young team some stability, and they're being afforded absolutely no stability. It's an absolute chaos circus. I mean, hopefully there's a togetherness there. They keep Willie Issa, and there's a togetherness in the team, and they're like, look, guys, coaches will come and go, these guys will come and go, but we stay together. We're a team. That's what I'm praying for these young, these young Chelsea team. And we can move on from there. So let's talk about it. Liam Rosenior, he could come in. Strasbourg fans will probably be... That would probably be the straw that breaks the camel's back for Strasbourg fans. Omega coming in the summer. They're number 10. Their captain, their striker. And then taking the manager that's got them to the top of the Conference League table and, qualified them for Europe. I don't think they'd take him now. Maybe there's an interim. Apparently they like Cesc Fabregas of Como. I must say that would be probably a good PR win for the sporting directors to bring in a Chelsea legend. Obviously the Barcelona and Arsenal stuff, but he had such an amazing time. He's not quite Cesar's Piliqueta level, but he had such a good time at Chelsea and is such a talented, classy player. It'd be very interesting. Obviously he's having a great time at Como. I think he's top 6 in Serie A of Como. Apparently Nagelsmann, who of course is the Germany manager, they like him. He's sort of been interviewed for Chelsea before. I don't know about these owners. Of course, he's very young. He's 38. Yeah, and they're sort of considering that after the World Cup in the summer that he might leave the German national team and come manage Chelsea. But if that's the case, you still need an interim manager. And Frank Lampard, you can't, not that it was successful last time, but you can't bring in Lampard because he's about to get Coventry promoted. So what do? Gus Hiddink, you can't wheel him out somewhere. So where's this interim coach? Is Willy Caballero going to take Chelsea to the end of the season, and try and get Chelsea into the Champions League and win the Champions League? Is he going to do a Di Matteo, Willy Caballero? Madness. Anyway, I'll be covering the story meticulously and closely, so do keep it locked to Football Therapy, whether it's here on YouTube or Spotify, which of course also has video. Make sure you turn the bell notifications icon on so you are the first to learn what's happening with this absolute sugar show at Chelsea. Keep it locked, guys. See you soon. Take care.